All right, this is the Yes Studio Albums ranking. Let's get right on with it. Before we start, uh, there are 20 Yes Studio albums. We'll be ranking those and those alone. No live albums. I'm not including the Keys to Ascension compilations, even though like they're partially live, partially studio. They are excellent albums, but I'm gonna skip them for this because how do you rank the live stuff? Doesn't make sense. And I'm not ranking any of the compilations or box sets or greatest hits or any of that stuff. And lastly, by name, ABWH is not a Yes album, so that's not included here. It's a pretty good album. I'm not going to include it. And, which brings up another debate is what actually makes it a Yes album. Well, for me, if it has the name Yes on it, it's going to be a Yes album. So we'll start right there. All right. So let's go number 20. This is an easy one. Open Your Eyes. Now, 1997. It's easily the worst Yes album. It's their worst effort. Some of the worst songs in the catalog are on this. Man on the Moon. Wonder Love. Love Shine. It's just not good. When you look at the lineup that's on this, you would expect to be a better effort, but it's just not. And it came out in a weird time, and it came out after the Keys, so I had really high expectations, and it's just a lot of extra stuff probably from Chris Squire and Billy Sherwood. From the Balcony's probably the best track. And New State of Mind is the opener. That's, I guess, has some potential, but it doesn't. Let's just say it's the best of the rest. New State of Mind and Open Your Eyes, the song. It was such a disappointment coming off of Keys to Ascension. I don't think I need to say anything more about it. Number 20 is Open Your Eyes. Number 19 from 1991 is Union. This is infinitely better than Open Your Eyes. Even if it's peppered with a bunch of pop songs and a bunch of pop rock and Yes West stuff. The early 90s is weird because the country's transitioning to grunge and alternative rock like Nirvana and Alice in Chains and those kinds of bands. Guns N' Roses is still big. Metallica's big. And then this comes out. Yes has lost some steam. There's some good songs on it. It's a lot better than Open Your Eyes, as I said. The More We Live, Let Go is the best track, or at least my favorite track. It's a Billy Sherwood song, too, with Chris. But this album was ruined during production, and I've heard the demos, which came from ABWH, and they're much better than what's on this. Better songs, better playing, and I think that's about it to say with that one. I also heard that the producer and John didn't like what Howe and Steve did. Steve Howe and Rick Wakeman. So they just recorded with studio session musicians. It's not necessarily even a lot of Yes playing on it. So that's where it sits. Number 18, 1983, 90125. So, what is this? Is it glam rock? Is it pop rock? It's not prog. There's some Chris Squire stuff on here, which is okay. Like Hold On and It Can Happen and Changes, but generally I just think we're getting at the bottom of the barrel for Yes music. And it's Trevor Rabin. I have nothing against Trevor Rabin. But, it's glam rock. If this is glam rock, like what do I rank it against? Other albums in 1983, or do I rank it against Kiss? I think Lick It Up came in 83, so it's not as good as that, but so that's where it is. Number 17, 1987, Big Generator. This is the same as the last one, but better. It's a you can tell John Anderson has a greater influence over the songs. Um, Even not as much as Trevor Rabin, but he's definitely increasing his influence back in the band. What are the best songs on this? I guess Final Eyes and Holy Lamb are my favorites. Shoot High, Aim Low is the best of the rest. Uh, the rest is just, you know, it's Big Generator. it's okay. It can be fun to listen to, but like it's 1987. What do you It's not really a Yes album, but it has Yes name on it. So what are you comparing it with? The big Bon Jovi album from that year, or it's somewhere in between glam rock and Yes music. All right. Number 16 is the debut Yes from 1969. This is the debut album. It's got the original lineup, so you've got Tony Kaye and Peter Banks in there. The best songs, my favorite songs on this are Beyond and Before, which is the first track, and Survival's pretty good. The rest of it's okay. It does sound more like Yes than the last two albums. And John's singing great on it. But it's a good debut. Let's just leave it at that. All right, number 15, Heaven and Earth. Now, this is from 2014. I've got some good memories of this one. This is like still fresh in my mind, and like I remember when it came out, and I ran to the store and bought it. It's special to me because it's the last studio album for Chris Squire before he died 2 years later. It's got some good tunes on it. I think what kills this one is the weak production. I think if they could have chosen better keyboard sounds or more layers or different parts. Jeff Downs is the keyboard player on this one. They could have done more work on the keyboards, and it sounds thin. This is the debut of Wano, or John Davison. He's sounds enough like John Anderson, but not just like John Anderson. But I think what he brings to the band is just better songwriting than what Benoit David could have done. So that's why they swapped him out. He's also a professional musician. So that's that. What are the best songs on this? My favorites are, the first track's pretty good, Believe Again. The Game. To Ascend's okay. In a World of Our Own's okay. I know a lot of people really like the song Light of the Ages. It Was All We Knew is a Steve Howe. I think he's lead singing on it too. And the last song, Subway Walls, I mean, that's the one that has great potential, but it seems like they botched the keyboard part. So, okay, Heaven and Earth, number 15. Number 14. This is the second Yes album, Time and a Word, from 1970. This album has the original lineup, but it also has the orchestra. So I guess they were challenging Tony Kaye to do like more Mellotron sounds a la King Crimson or someone like that. And, he just really liked hammering that Hammond organ. So they were looking for more diversity. The other thing is, you'll notice Steve's on there. Steve's on the cover, but he didn't play on this. Banks played on it. But this is a good album. It's underrated. The orchestra, it's not overpowering or dominating, but you can hear it. What are the best tracks? My favorite is No Opportunity Necessary, No Experience Needed. That's the lead track. I like when Bill Bruford talks about it, so I like cranking that one. And they were playing it last year when they went when they were on tour. Sweet Dreams is good, track 4. Track 7 is Astral Traveler. That might be the best one. It's between Astral Traveler and No Opportunity Necessary. And then Time and a Word's on here. This is a good album. All right. The Quest is number 13 from 2021. This is the newest album, and it's produced by Steve Howe, and we've got Billy Sherwood on bass, taking over for Chris Squire. This one also, it's the final album for Alan White. Alan White's the man. What are the best songs on this one? I like the Ice Bridge a lot. In fact, that one gets a boost for me because that's why I've got it ahead of some of the other albums. I like that a lot, and I know Jeff, he sort of lifted it from Francis Monkman, but they went back to him and got permission to use it, so it's good. I really like the tune Leave Well Alone. I wanted them to play that during the tour last year, but they didn't. They were playing Dare to Know. The rest of it's just okay. There's a bonus disc. I think people don't realize it, but there's a free bonus disc that came with this. Like, if you buy it online, like if you're streaming it or whatever, you might not even be aware that it's a bonus disc. But there's these 3 songs on here. Sister Sleeping Soul Mystery Tour is about the Beatles, and then Damaged World. And they're just kind of throwaways to me. I guess they say it's a free bonus tracks, but then you got to pay extra for it, so it's not really free. This one has an orchestra on it too, and it's actually good. So it's not powerful, and not every song has it, but this is good. It's just lacking in the real Yes power, which is why it's not in the top 10 for me. All right, so now we're getting into the top 12, and we're starting to get into some of the better albums. So here's probably the lowest ranking one where I think it's a really good album is Magnification from 2001. I've got this. I have this other version of it right here. I have the DVD audio too. It's got a little bit different cover. See that? I don't know why I bought this on 2 versions, but I did. Probably because I liked it a lot. This version has a 5.1 mix. Now this has an orchestra on every song, and sometimes it's actually dominating the music or overpowering. And that's why, to me, it's the lowest of the really good albums. But it is a good album. I'd love to hear it without the orchestra. And I understand they recorded this the same way they did the studio tracks for Keys of Ascension, where it was just the core 4 of Anderson, Squire, Howe, and White, and they had these songs, and they wrote and recorded the songs without thinking of a keyboard player like Rick Wakeman, and then they added the orchestra treatment later, and they gave like the conductor Larry Group or Group A, I don't know how you say that. They gave him the ability to do pretty much whatever he wanted, and you can hear it. But I like it. Good songs. Magnification's a good song. Spirit of Survival. Don't Go. Give Love Each Day is kind of like mopey. I like Can You Imagine. We Agree is good. Soft as a Dove is like one of those throwaway tracks, but for a throwaway track, it's not bad. What makes this really good is Dreamtime and In the Presence Of, both longer tracks, and John really singing his heart out. And Dreamtime's even got some power to it. And then it ends with Time and Time is Time. So good album. I recommend that one. Okay, number 11. Talk from 94. Now this is clearly the best of the 3 albums where Trevor Rabin's on lead guitar. And it's basically the 90125 or Yes West lineup. This one gets overlooked. This is pretty good. Um, the best track is Endless Dream, which is like a big, I don't know, 18-minute maybe. Uh, it's a prog track, and Trevor Rabin's doing like a lot of keyboard programming and some excellent leads, and John's really got good lyrics and he's singing good. And that's my favorite on this. The other tracks are all good. It's more the rest of the tracks are sort of poppy. It is some more pop rock, but not in the like cock rock of 90125 or glam rock. It's just sort of like pop rock. Um, it just doesn't have the edge of the 90125 or Big Generator stuff. So the Calling, I'm Waiting is good, Real Love is good, and State of Play is good. Walls and Where Will You Be, they don't really do anything for me. And you got sort of like a plain looking album cover. By the way, I've been skipping over the album covers. A lot of these are good. A lot of them are Roger Dean ones, and they're just like really artsy paintings. Okay, number 10, The Ladder. This might surprise some people, but I like this one a lot. This came out in '99, and when I got it, I bought it the day it came out, and I listened to this every day. It's like for a year. I was just really in a big Yes stage in the late '90s, and this came out at the perfect time because it was 2 years after Open Your Eyes, and it's way better than Open Your Eyes. It's just much more improved. And I think because Steve and John did a lot of the writing. The best track is Homeworld, The Ladder. It's 9 minutes. That's clearly the best track. It's a good track. It's like a big prog. Big prog track. It'll Be a Good Day. The River's good. Lightning Strikes that's the third track. It's their attempt at like a pop song. I'm not a big fan. It's got horns and stuff going off. Can I is not memorable. I think that's the one where John's singing like We Have Heaven. Face to Face is good. If Only You Knew is good. To Be Alive is really good. I mean, these are all like a lot of these. Actually, when you think about it, these two kind of remind me of each other. They're very similar, and I like them both. I'll give The Ladder the edge just because I've had a really huge stage with it for like a year plus. Finally is the worst track. I hate that song. God, I hate that song. It's a skip. The Messenger is a great song, and New Language is like a 9 minute. It's sort of like a faster tempo proggy track in the style of I can't think of it, but the last song on Tormato. It always reminds me of that. And then Nine Voices is Steve playing acoustic guitar and John singing. Good album. I've said enough about it. All right, number 9, excellent album. Excellent album cover too. Again, by the way, look at these album covers. Roger Dean. Okay. Drama, 1980. I had a huge stage on this album too. This is one of the first Yes albums I got and I really got into. Like I really was like, wow, this is Yes. Great prog rocks for me, and this is a heavier one. I wouldn't say it's metal, but it's not metal like Rush or Porcupine Tree, Deadwing. But it is heavy. Like Machine Messiah is really heavy. White Car's like a throwaway Buggles track. By the way, the Buggles are so Trevor Horn's playing on this, and Jeff Downs from the Buggles. This is when they joined the band after Rick and John quit. And it was just like a Brian Lane, I'm the manager, Swaparoo. I've got these two guys that are doing nothing, and Yes needs these two guys, so that's how it happened. The best song is Does It Really Happen? That's by far the best song. Run Through the Light and Into the Lens are okay. Into the Lens is a pretty heavy track. Seems like Steve Howe dominates it. And then Tempest Fugit seems like a Chris Squire driven track. Excellent album, and I always like that there's a cool picture of the band on the inside. This is a I like when they have pictures of the band, but that's a good one. Great album. All right. So that was number 9. Number 8, this is going to surprise some people. Fly From Here from 2011. This is another one where, like, I remember I was all worked up that it was coming out, and I drove 25 miles to go buy it. And I just cranked it. On the drive home, I just cranked it as loud as I could in my truck. It's great driving music. And this is essentially the same lineup that did Drama, except with Benoit David singing. And it's got the Fly From Here suite, which is the first 5 tracks, first 6 tracks. And those are all excellent. The Man You Always Wanted Me to Be is a lighter Chris Squire song that I like. Life on a Film Set is a Buggles song. It's excellent. Hour of Need is good, and Solitaire. Solitaire is a Steve Howe song where he's singing. He's not singing. It's a instrumental. Sorry. And then Into the Storm is the last track. It's got Oliver Wakeman playing on it with Jeff Downs. This is just good and a cool album cover. It's great driving music, and they even, like, if you look closely, the cat that's on the Drama cover is right. It's the same cat. So I like this one. I think it's better than Drama. It's not as heavy, but I think it's better. All right, 1978 Tormato comes in at number 7. That's going to surprise people too, because I always thought my whole life that that Drama was the better album than Tormato. But then recently, I listened to them back to back. I listened to Tormato first and then Drama second. And I thought Tormato was the better album. It sounded better. It had better energy. Bad album cover. So Tor is like, I think, some area or town in England. And they put the tomatoes, like tomato, Tormato. Get it? Oh, cool picture of the band in here, too. You got Wakeman and Howe. And Alan White's. He's the man. So what's great about this, there isn't really a skip track other than Circus of Heaven is kind of silly. The best track is On the Silent Wings of Freedom. That's the one I couldn't think of a minute ago, from the Ladder. That's probably the best song. Future Times is good. Rejoice. Don't Kill the Whale. It's if you're an environmentalist. This is just great. Arriving UFO is cool, and it has some cool Rick Wakeman keyboard moments. But underrated album. Okay, number 6, the Yes album, 1971. You got the band on the cover. This one's got Bill Bruford on drums. Bill Bruford's also the man. This one's like, I don't know, I think they deliberately tried to make a pop album. But it's progressive rock, but it's laced with some of their more popular songs, like the ones you'll hear on the radio. Like I've Seen All Good People. That's probably the most famous one. Yours Is No Disgrace is probably the I'm gonna say that's the best song on here, especially the version on Yes Songs where Steve's just really cranking through it. The claps on here. Starship Trooper is that song is legendary, and Yes plays it a lot on tour, and they play it near the end generally. They didn't play it on the last go around, which was kind of surprising to me. But I like the song Starship Trooper. I know a lot of people, I got a friend that doesn't like it. But, I like the song Adventure, and Perpetual Change is good. I know they like to play Perpetual Change on tour too. But I like this album. And I think this is the start of Eddie Olford. You know, they're producing, they're co-producing the albums together. Yes, and Eddie Olford, and you can hear it. And I think it's creepy. There's like a floating head on the cover. And why is this chair? Why is there an empty chair? That's what I want to know. Okay, good album, great album, really. All right. Also in 1971 is Fragile. So this might surprise some people. I also have this. I don't know. I was buying DVD audios about 20 years ago, and so this is a 5.1 mix, and I've got these two. This is like I couldn't get the remastered. So this is like an original print on CD, and then I ended up buying this, which is a 5.1 and a remix of the stereo. Um, my favorite song on this is for sure Heart of the Sunrise. That's the best track. But it's got Roundabout, South Side of the Sky, and Long Distance Runaround. That's one of the songs that they play on the radio a lot. The other tracks are all like solo spots. So Cans and Brahms by Rick, We Have Heaven by John, 5% for Nothing is a Throwaway by Bill Bruford. They should have just not done it. And then the Fish, they like to play the Fish at concerts, at least when Chris Squire was still alive. And Mood for a Day is the Steve Howe solo. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people are going to have this number one or number two. For me, it's not my favorite. But I guess it's really important for Yes, because Rick is on the album and John's doing great songwriting with Chris, and it's a good effort. It's solid. It's solid. I would recommend starting there. Okay, number 4 is Going for the One, 1977. This is not a Roger Dean cover. By the way, look at the difference in covers. A Roger Dean cover, and then I think this is Hypnosis, which did the Pink Floyd covers. I had a huge stage in this one too. Much bigger than Fragile. Going for the One is excellent. The best song on here is obviously Awaken. It might be the best Yes song, period. Wondrous Stories is really good. But I went through a huge stage just listening to this every day in the I would say mid 90s somewhere, and just listening to it every day. I really like Parallels with the big church organ, and Going for the One is sort of like a country song, and Steve's playing the I like that. And Turn of the Century is great. There's a great live version on Keys to Ascension of Turn of the Century. That's probably the better version of the song. Okay, number 3. I might get roasted for this one. Let's just do it. Number 3 is Close to the Edge. Now, sometimes this is number 1 for me, and sometimes it's number 2. But right now, I'm going to call it number 3. Okay. I think when I first started like getting into Yes, I was driving around with Kevin and in his Ford Escort. We were listening to Close to the Edge, the ABWH version on the ABWH live album from '89, and I was just like hooked. Like, what is this I'm listening to? Like I said, sometimes this is my favorite album. By the way, I don't understand the cover. So this is like the first or second Roger Dean cover, but I don't get, it's just green and black and a fade. It has And You and I, which is a great track. And then the last song is Siberian Khatru. But what I love about this is just the flair and the ups and downs of the song Close to the Edge. And you got good pictures of the band on the inside. And I had a huge stage of listening to this, and then almost back to back the next album. Man, I was listening to these two at the same time for a couple of years. Let's do number 2, Tales from Topographic Oceans. Now, I know, like, people are going to have Close to the Edge and Tales number 1 and 2. And actually, the last few years, this has been, I would tell people, like, this is my favorite Yes album. But it's dropped recently for me. I think when I started thinking about what's really on this compared to the one above it, but this is like, I can listen to this doing anything. Driving, sitting around. It's got the 4 18+ minute tracks, and they're all great. Each of them has their own high points and low points. And you got a really cool album cover by Roger Dean. That's probably my favorite one. I wish the fish aren't in the front, but the fish swimming around on this island planet. It's just really cool. And, you know, it's got the South Asian theme to it of the four, the what is it called? The four, well, I won't go there. Go research it. It's really interesting. John went to a wedding and met John Anderson, and he met James Muir, who was the second drummer of King Crimson. And who was getting married? Maybe Robert Fripp was getting married or someone. And James Muir was teaching John Anderson these Indian... he was telling him about a book. But you could go look it up and read it yourself. That's the whole inspiration behind the album. All right, lastly, number 1, Relayer. I think this is the best album. It's after Tales from Topographic Oceans, and, you know, Rick Wakeman's quit and Pat Mraz has joined the band. And it's just got the crazy track, The Gates of Delirium. It's probably number 1 or number 2 in terms of Yes songs. It's a song about a war. It's 22 minutes long. It's awesome. Sound Chaser is this real jazzy, kind of frantic song. And then To Be Over is a longer track, sort of dominated by Steve Howe on steel guitar. And okay, so that's the rundown of Go Relayer. For this, right now, in this point in time, Relayer to me, that's number 1. That's the number 1 album. Okay. And at various points in my life, I have it number 2 or number 3, but for now, I'm going with that, number 1. And I had a huge Relayer stage in, like, 96. Like, listening to it every day. All right. From top to bottom, Open Your Eyes, Union, 90125 zip code, Big Generator, Yes, Heaven and Earth, Time and a Word, The Quest, Magnification, Talk, The Ladder, Drama, Fly From Here, Tormato, the Yes album, Fragile, Going for the One, Close to the Edge, Tales from Topographic Oceans. And then my number one is Relayer. Great album cover too. You got a knight on a horse. A couple of them actually. All right. Thanks everyone. Appreciate it. You can leave your list in the comments. Like and subscribe. Thank you everyone.